is 32 more days to the December 7 elections. Of course, this is your election headquarters. Welcome to AM Talk, where we break the national issues down. Security is, of course, on top of our agenda this morning. Let me introduce to you my guests who are seated. The Member of Parliament for South Dai constituency in the Volta region, Roxin Nelson Echekomi Dafamako, is here. He sits on the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. A very good morning to you. And the Judiciary as well. Thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
And then Mr. Seti Champong is Member of Parliament for Mpraeso, and he's the Chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. A very good morning to you as well. You've been speaking on security matters recently.
Thank you. Yes, I have.
Great. So let's start with the fact that the National Security Minister, I was sharing that he will be in Parliament today to brief the House on, in terms of security preparedness ahead of the December polls. There's also the Electoral Commission Chair who appeared before the House, the National Commission on Civic Education, and then the National Media Commission as well. So I'll start with you, Mr. Champ, on the security angle.
Thank you. Good morning to yourselves and good morning to my brother. And may I take it off, or you want me to flow with it?
If you think if this is the 1 meter, how do we measure that?
No, I think I need to put it on for the observation of the protocols because
okay,
Robson
great.
is not in.
But if you need another one that will make you a lot more comfortable, I'll be happy to supply. You manage this one, okay? Great.
Let me say that it is proper for the National Security Minister to come before the people's representatives who have the mandate for and on behalf of the people to know exactly where we are, what is ahead of us, and then beyond that, we will be able to offer a proper report of all the actions we're about getting ourselves involved. First and foremost, in a couple of 32 days or more, we will be holding a general election in the country.
Correct.
We equally have other businesses of the country going on unimpeded. And then we must ensure that that major exercise of the country determines who leads the country. We're going to elect a president and then 275 representatives of the people. And these are done the same day concurrently. So, one, we need to understand the preparedness of the managers of our security and the system itself. How ready are we in respect of ensuring that all can go home and sleep? How best can we do this than to hold a conversation amongst ourselves as a people? And the People's Forum is Parliament. So I am encouraged by the decision of Right Honourable Speaker, the Executive, His Excellency the President, who is managing from that end, that we hold this crucial meeting. And I'm sure in there we will get every opportunity to pierce and ask anything important in respect of what is happening in Ghana today, what we have heard and seen in times past. How are we approaching that based on what has been happening? These are all the matters that would be happening in that meeting.
Okay, great. So these are just your initial comments because we will deal with the security issue proper. So Mr. Dafamako, just make it very brief for me on this. What would you be asking the National Security Minister, or what are you expecting that he will touch on?
Thank you very much. Let me customarily say good morning to my constituents in Piki, Pariko, and I raised this matter last week Friday when the business statement was read for this week. It's an issue that was not going to feature at all, and so when we had to interrogate the business statement as presented by the leader of the House, I raised the issue in addition to some other matters. Indeed, I was expecting the Interior Minister to come to the House and brief us on the security preparedness of his apparatus towards the forthcoming elections. Now, in responding to my question, I think we came to the understanding that it would be good if we are briefed at the committee of the whole, that is in-camera briefing, outside of the purview of media men. And so that's my understanding that that's what's going to happen. Okay. And then the minority leader also added that the Electoral Commission chair should also come to give us an update in respect of the elections that will be held in 4 weeks' time. And so I'm sure that
that's also at the committee level.
Yes, my understanding that will be done as a committee of the whole. Okay. When we are meeting in camera, that's the term we use. We meet outside of the purview of media men. So these are very weighty matters that we must consider today, because you see, I read sometime this week that the police, for instance, are mentioning in excess of 500 polling stations as being hotspots in the Volta region alone. And as Volta MPs, we are being questioned. Our people are calling us. We need to have details on these polling stations and take the appropriate steps to be able to forestall any such crisis in these respective polling stations. So we'll look forward to these briefings, and I'm sure the media will be updated on the details.
Sure. Well, I will come back to what the police and the Election Security Task Force has also been briefing the media. This was yesterday. But there's a clip that I want to play to you. We've been talking about chiefs meddling in our politics, and I don't know if it's gotten worse in this 2020 electioneering period. But there's one that was in our news at 6, and I thought I'll play it back to you, gentlemen, and then we can have a conversation on the back of that real quick. So here we go, and this is in Fomina in the Ashanti region.
My friend, independent candidate, you know, several times. Now on fa, eti oba mi fie no, osina ni fon adum. To oba obesere kwan say obeba adansi traditional council. Me share September 8 say womra. Me be ka kire ma hemfo. September 8 yetena asia wamba ko ba ya na ke ni masemo a ye be ka kire no. Wamba ntino up till now maintain nka. Na ya de enim ne say yamanyo semo a wo Ghana no ne the constitution no kire no. So mampani a ho no ono nipa na obeyi na maye no ono ne edi na chire.
Okay, now this is crucial because this is the sitting member of Parliament for Fomina who, decided to go independent. In the same clip, this report filed by my colleague Prince Appiah in the Ashanti region, he talks about how the president is unhappy because he had apparently had conversations with the NP about him going independent. He thought he had agreed, but apparently not. So he's still going independent, and the party also has a candidate. We also saw the education minister also make some comment on it. But my confusion is the chief's position in this, because this is typically an internal party issue. And I didn't expect to hear that. Am I the only person who's disappointed?
Indeed, no. And if I may make reference to Article 276, Clause 1, and it says as follows: a chief shall not take part in active party politics. You see, the controlling word there is active party politics, and any chief wishing to do so and seeking election to Parliament shall abdicate his tool or skin. Now, what the Fomina chief did amounted to taking part in active party politics. The Constitution simply didn't say party politics, but a very active one. To the extent that he will say that whoever the president selects or nominates for them is the fellow or the person that they will follow. And so as it were, he's become the chief campaign manager for the government of the day in that area. And there are instances of things like this all over, and it's worrying that.
Has it gotten worse in this 2020?
Well, I haven't analyzed that, but I think that with the increase in the usage of social media and all that, there's an avalanche of that, in our modern party politicking, but to actively do so is the issue. But hey, chiefs have always been part and parcel of our body politic. Indeed, the Constitution in clause 2 of that, of Article 276, say that a chief can be appointed to a public office which is otherwise qualified. And so it doesn't say that they cannot participate in our body politic, in our public sphere of governance. But to do active partisan politics is what the Constitution frowns on. And so, yeah, the CSOs, the religious leaders, the Peace Council, they're all there. These are matters that should exercise their mind and let people stay in their lane. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, shouldn't we just scrap this whole law on chiefs not doing partisan politics?
Well, if as a people we decide to go on a referendum and take such a position, then I'm sure we would have taken a decision by ourselves.
They're doing it anyway.
And for the people, we all were here and we said we would not want them to be involved in the day-to-day partisan behavior of myself and Roxing as we go about it. And let me go to the specific matter. I'm not surprised. But the world is surprised because your cameras have captured this. When we have had visits to our chiefs, before you, they'll give you what they think you know and what you want to hear. They'll speak with you. That's the reality. If another person comes, we speak to them as well. So it's in contest. I'm not surprised about this at all, because the tradition is that if you have not done anything untoward to warrant the wrath of the chief, once you appear before our elders, they are bound as parents and as custodians of our lands and overlords to welcome you home and engage you in a conversation. But because this very particular conversation is being captured by our cameras and it is gone as it is going, it is going to be the subject of conversation.
Oh, but to say that, as for us, dear, it is the candidate that the president selects that we follow.
Mama V, he was talking to the president when the president had called on him. That is a conversation between himself and the president's presence. Another candidate will go, beckon on him, his request. If the person has done nothing untoward, the practice is that they are not supposed to throw away their subjects. They are supposed to welcome their subjects. So this is how it is seen. If I listen carefully to his narrative, and if you are to do an analysis of his subject, he says that it is a matter between an independent candidate who has emerged in his area. And
the independent candidate is the sitting member of parliament.
The independent candidate is the sitting member of parliament who got into parliament on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party. Today, the leader and the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party has gone before the kings and the chiefs of Fomina to tell his story and promote his political party interests. So his narrative is in the interest of his political party. And so he went in there solely to promote himself as a candidate for the general elections as a president and a presidential candidate, and who we, as a tradition, a political party, united as an entity, have also nominated
I think
to
we
represent
fairly,
our
I think we
interests.
fairly appreciate that.
May I rebut
It's
that?
just 30 seconds of
Yes,
that.
may I rebut that? No, 30 seconds will not be enough. You see, the issue of the Formina MP, this was my colleague who was frustrated even in participating in the intra-party competition during their primaries, to the extent that he had to decline contesting because his nomination, to acquire nomination forms to complete and submit, he was frustrated.
And then eventually he had issues with the album as well.
Exactly. So eventually he decided to contest independently. Now, I hear there's a letter even in Parliament directing, indicating to Speaker that he has been dismissed from the party.
I was going to ask what the position of Parliament is on this one.
Yes, we'll deal with that matter. So there are antecedents to this issue. So the Formina chief is a traditional ruler of the entire Formina, and the people that he leads in his traditional area consists of other party members. So if you speak like this, what about the NDC members who come from Formina who are your subjects? What about the NDC members who are CPP members who come from Formina who are your subjects? So this is why comments like this shouldn't be entertained to poison the body politic. And I'm surprised that my brother Achampon, the way I know him, is not criticizing the comment, but not the scenario. Why? A chief can come to you, speak to the candidate in terms that you think is favorable, but don't be partisan. Don't say that me and my people will follow the candidate that you, the president, will give us.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Achampon, please land for me.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, Roxin, my colleague sitting here, understands and knows the reality of our trade. I will plead with you, when President Mahama goes to Formina with his candidate, capture everything that the chief says and see if the chief will point his left hand to President Mahama.
Are you saying the chief would say,
and see if the
candidate that you will present is the one that we will follow?
You see, the president was there.
We've been to Formina.
No, please, excuse me. The president was there in the interest of the New Patriotic Party. We are all at liberty to decide. Me sitting here today, I'm at liberty to continue as MPP or not MPP. That's my right.
So this was fair comments?
No. Yeah, fair comment.
Okay.
It's not.
It's
not.
Me,
the Constitution frowns on that.
I'm not chastising a Siama for his actions. He's an independent, fully grown Ghanaian.
He's a lawyer.
He has every right to take decisions which will benefit himself as a person. I will not frown against whatever actions and decisions he's made. But I will not sit here and say that I don't know what goes on in our body politics.
Okay. What is...
The chief is supposed to welcome everybody in the subject area.
So let's move.
Play a father to everybody in the subject area.
We appreciate that. What's the position of the MP today in Parliament? Because it's been a while since the NPP wrote to the Speaker to say that he was no longer a member of the party.
The beauty of our practice in Parliament is about processes and procedure. The party, New Patriotic Party, who sponsored the MP to the 7th Parliament, have sent an indication to Parliament, withdrawing the whip of that particular person they sponsored. Now, what it means is that he can no longer partake in our caucus meetings. He can no longer be covered by the whip of the majority, because he's no more belonging to the majority. These are crucial and critical matters.
Okay.
In the practice of Parliament, I belong to the majority caucus on the strength that the majority, which was carried by the New Patriotic Party, won a number of seats by the architecture of the Parliament. And so I belong to that caucus.
Does he sit on your side?
He's supposed to be sitting on our side. But ever since he filed as an independent candidate, I've not seen him in Parliament, and he has not come.
Okay, so you haven't seen him in your caucus meeting as well?
He's not invited. He doesn't have any participation rights in our caucus meetings. He never comes there.
Okay.
Okay, Mama, if I may refer to Article 97.1, particularly Clause G.
This is 1992.
Yes, of the Constitution. It says, a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament. G, if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to Parliament to join another party, or seeks to remain in Parliament as an independent member. Now, the scenario we face in respect of my brother from Formina is that the Constitution didn't anticipate his situation. That instead of he taking a voluntary decision to abandon ship or to jump ship, it is rather his party that is claiming to have dismissed him. I haven't cited the letter. And the party too hasn't...
Oh, you know their regulation is just like yours. Because I was going to also point to the 18 members that you've also disqualified.
Yes, hold on. They haven't made their letter public. I haven't seen the MPP letter to the Speaker. So...
But you are familiar with their regulation on that?
Yes, hold on. I am familiar. But when they write to the Speaker, it means they want to spring to life this constitutional provision. That then steps should be taken to ensure that his seat is declared vacant. But here is the trick. Now, his decision to contest as an independent member to become a member of Parliament as an independent Ghanaian.
In the next Parliament.
It's in the future Parliament. It's in the future Parliament. And in any case, if he decides to contest the letter supposedly dismissing him from his party, that is also a remedial measure available to him internally. So I don't see this happening. Isn't
it a bit surprising that this issue hasn't come up at all in Parliament? Because
yes, perhaps because
a while ago.
No, there is only a speculation that a letter has been sent. If indeed the Speaker receives a letter like that, Speaker will normally come to plenary and read as external communication. Nothing like that has happened.
Mr. Champon, please, because your party said that they had sent the letter to Mr. Speaker.
Every business that we do on the House floor, and he knows, we have what we call pre-meeting conference. Every matter that is read on the House floor is decided between the Speaker and the leadership. There are several business
committee.
Yes, we appreciate that as well.
This even besides the business committee, before we hold a meeting today, the Speaker calls leadership into conclave.
So has the letter gone to Parliament or not?
Have you seen the letter?
Oh,
I haven't seen it.
Are you the anchor?
I haven't seen it.
You see, this is a very nice lawyer. Unfortunately, I've seen him sit here and try to play the work of the Supreme Court.
Why?
The constitution that lies before him,
yes,
I take inspiration out of it to speak, but not conclusive.
Why?
But he's demonstrated here and now that his practice allows him the opportunity to interpret it so motu.
Exactly. Oh, you don't know that. No. That is what we do as lawyers. No. What the Supreme Court does is to determine whose opinion on the matter is supreme.
Let's hear.
But as for the lawyers, we always interpret the law.
Will you permit me to advance? No, you just heckled me, unfortunately. You know, this is not the practice. So I am saying that the matter, when it arrives, would definitely have to go through a process.
So it's going through the process.
In Parliament, it is processes and procedure. He knows. So if it has not gone through that gestation period, and all agree, that's why you find us battling on the House floor when there's a matter that in pre-meeting we really could not come.
So why do you know and he doesn't know that there's a letter that exists in Parliament to that effect?
Oh, why not?
A letter going to gestation period.
No, listen. Mr. Speaker is an elder of our political party. It is not over until it is over. And I know Isiama is a true blue MPP blooded boy, lawyer.
He's no longer a member of the party.
Don't worry. Don't worry. We have seen several incidents like that before. There are still people talking to him for him to rescind on his decision because of the collective interest of the group. That's what we are all doing.
But even the president has given up because he said he called him.
Oh, you see, the president as a human being has got his limits. And mind you, he has a campaign ahead of him. He has a lot of tasks to accomplish. So he can't spend all his time.
Okay.
That's why it's a party.
So let's
So other party people are still pursuing and persuading.
Okay.
It is not complete. If you listen to the chief, he said, I have tried several times, but when I met him, he said his phone was off. They've not given up on him.
Yeah, but is it the chief's business to be following up on this internal party issue?
Because based on what was said for and before the chief, every candidate on the ground, and he will do. Every politician must go to the chief of your area. If you don't go to your chief of the area, and the chief rises up and says, no, we don't need this man, we don't know him, you are finished.
Okay, let's talk about your other colleagues, because they've also dismissed 18 members for contesting as independent candidates in the 2020 election. General Mosquito giving a lot of details and also saying, just like what happens in the NPP, even those who endorse, who campaign for them, also cease to be members of the party.
Yes, our constitutional provisions are very clear. Indeed, if this happens, then you decide to rejoin, it will take you 4 years for you to be restored into this position.
But hasn't this got implications and complications? It's just 32 more days. You are in opposition.
Why so? Yes.
Do you have the luxury of doing this?
Why? The MPP sacked their national chairman. They sacked their general secretary. They sacked their vice chairman. They are in government today. They were in opposition when they did that. The discipline of party officers who they thought were being indisciplined. So it is always good to discipline party members so you whip them into line. Now, what is happening? All these persons contested in the internal elections in the NDC during the primaries and lost. And the regulations in respect of the conduct of the primaries were very clear. That in the event that you lost, you were barred from breaking ranks. But they decided to do so. And these decisions were even in breach of the provisions of the regulations governing the primaries, as well as the party's constitution. So, you see, if you are in opposition, you don't discipline your party members. An indisciplined army doesn't win a war.
Yes. So if they happen to find themselves in parliament, would you want them to come to your side? Well, or you still be preaching, we've disciplined you?
No, that is the decision that the party may have to come to in the future. But for now, they have clearly been torpedoed from the party. And the party will always welcome them back, whether or not they win. But but Mama, let me make this clear. You see, when you are a member of the party, the structures are hierarchically, done. You move from the branch to constituency to region to national. And when you are a long-serving member of the party, there are certain courtesies that are extended to you. So, for instance, to be eligible to contest on the ticket of the party to become a member of parliament, there are certain obligations and things that would have been demanded from you: long service, commitment, loyalty, demonstrable loyalty, and all. When you do this, you lose all that evaporates. So in the event any of them decides to rejoin, you are joining as a fresh member. You are starting from the lower ranks. Those are the things that those are the consequences.
This will not hurt the party.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, Mr. Champo, we've seen
indeed the party members will now be very clear in their mind. If they have any confusion in supporting any of these members in the respective constituencies, now they are very clear that the party is nobody should go and poison the minds of the party in these constituencies that, oh, I am contesting as an independent member, but the national executives are in support of me. No, you are on your own.
Okay. Mr. Champo, we've seen, I think, the constituency where Patricia Pieje is member of parliament. There was was it just yesterday where the news of one independent candidate who's thrown supports behind her? So I guess it's not too late. Conversations still continue, and those who have even filed could decide to change their minds.
Let me say this before he comes in. For me now, my brother was in Parliamentary days ago.
Oh, the MP, you saw him in Parliament. When did he sit?
Oh, why? Of course.
With the majority?
Yes, of course, at his side.
Okay.
Yes. That's where his seat is.
But nobody... Okay, all right.
No issue has come up. That's the thing. There's nothing. Yes.
So he's duly a member of the Senate Parliament.
It's as business as usual. There's no issue.
Okay. Mr. Champon, you didn't spot him, but he did.
You see how funny we behave. When it was his, we must crack the whip. We must ensure there's discipline. When I am disciplining my tradition, he says...
Where is your letter?
He says he's quoting Constitution.
Champon, where is your letter?
You see, this is the beauty of democracy.
Where's your letter?
And that's why...
What have you said in that letter?
I'll use this opportunity to tell my fellow Ghanaians that don't let us fight over myself and Roxanne. We understand ourselves very, very well. It's a process, it's a season. The time is now to decide who you want to lead you. You work and check our records, and then you know that, yes, these are the people I want to flow with. I want to say that it is proper because we did same and we continue to do same. It doesn't matter how your experience is. If you mess around with us when we are at war is being used advisedly. When we are embarking upon an action that will inure to the entire benefit of the system, and you cross our path unadvisedly, we will lift you and throw you away. So these are the practices we should, all political parties must ensure that we find disciplinary measures appropriate for those who go against established norms. Other than that, we are not governing. And so I will say that once we have decided to rule and govern this country, whoever so decides must come with sets of disciplinary measures to make sure that when you are given that opportunity to lead this enterprise called Ghana, you have such to also bring to make sure that we all enjoy some discipline.
Okay, great. So we will talk about the security issue properly. There's also the Airbus matter that we will touch on because of the comments that the former president made yesterday following the revelation by Martin Amidru on who government official one is. But let's talk about details that we've been given by the Election Security Task Force. I'm sure you're very familiar. They say they have a 4-tier approach, over 60,000 personnel deployed. They will be in uniform, except for CID and BNI.
Undercover, those
who will be invisible.
Yes.
So I wanted to, okay, you want to say something on that?
No, let me listen to you first.
Okay, so with Ayawaso West Wuogon still fresh on my mind, I was wondering if we truly understand invisible, in quote.
Why not? We truly understand invisible. There's nowhere in this world that undercover officers, men and women, are allowed to go in any form than go in traditional clothing like we are in Mufti. This is how it is done. This is undercover. It is part of the measure of public safety management. You cannot just allow everybody to be in normal apparel and regalia. So
we won't see the BNI because remember Ayawaso West Wuogon, the group that came, you know, you could identify them by what they were wearing. Are we saying we won't see them in, I don't want to say a familiar, but identifiable uniform, if you like that? Is that what we mean when we say invisible?
Those who came to Ayawaso West Wuogon were in uniform. That may be the uniform of special forces. They can be dressed in that style. This is not special forces. When we say we are asking a criminal investigation personnel who we have trained to cover elections, our BNI personnel whom we have trained to cover elections, to go around and work, criminals must not identify them. Other than that, we'll fail.
So will they be in mask?
Well, the moment they are in mask, then you have identified them already.
Okay.
Once they put on mask, you have identified them. You're not supposed to identify them. They will come like me and Roxanne sitting here.
Okay.
It is only when there is push to show and they are supposed to demonstrate their identity. Then they will pull their identity for you to know that indeed they have it and they are who they are.
Mr. Dafamukpo, are you satisfied with the details that we were given yesterday?
Not at all. Not at all, because we take inspiration from the Ayawaso disturbances. And as we speak, we are still unable to identify some of the people who came there.
Not from national security?
Why? Do you know them?
They said national security. Isn't that what they say?
Yes, that is a very nebulous term. National security.
But haven't we been using for like forever?
Exactly. So if you have hoodlums who come to my constituency and say they come from national security and the instruction is that they shouldn't disclose their identity, how am I able to relate with them as security personnel and not rather consider them as some criminally minded people?
Oh, but Mr. Dafamukpo, these are officers, these are men and women who are supposed to be policing the polls.
How? How are they policing the polls? I have 2 police commands in my constituency. Personnel that man this, the Peki District Police Command and the Kwebe District Police Command. I know them. Then I have one police station at Parliamentary. The chief inspector and his men, I know them. I have 68 police stations in Southdown. So, if we are going to beef up security, we need to know the additional men that will come.
When you say you need to know,
I need to know.
Are you talking about identifying them, or you know
he just made a point. You are asking me whether I'm satisfied about the things it said in support of what the police people put out. And I'm telling you that I am not. And my party, it's not. Because when a man comes to a polling station and says that he's a national security operative, I need to know who he is.
Can I ask him a few questions based on the issues you've raised, and I'll come back to you?
I'm not done.
Okay.
Now, how am I able to report his conduct to the regular police officers if I don't know who he is? And yet he misconducts himself. Or he engages in a criminal conduct. You know, in the polling stations, we have had instances where certain security persons have brutalized, persons who are in queue to go and cast their ballot. Either because there is some intransigence on the part of the person. So, like he said, when push comes to shove, and that's the terminologies they use. Minimal force. And yet they'll break your bone. So if somebody breaks my bone, I should be able to report the conduct of that person. Okay. Meanwhile, the person has come and this is a faceless person. No identity, he claims it comes from national security. So we want to urge them that the Ghana Police Service has enough men to be put into uniform, identifiable, to be deployed. We don't want any amorphous members of an amorphous body deployed into our various communities.
Are you saying that we have not had CID men not in identifiable uniform police posts?
You see, when I am addressing this matter, I will always place my constituency in context. I know the number of CIDs in my constituency. So when they are in a mufti, I know them. Let them do that in other constituencies, so we don't generate unnecessary fear and panic amongst our people.
All right. Mr. Champon, I think there are some very important issues that he's raised in terms of how do I identify them? If there is any misconduct, how do I report? Who do I say he is or she is?
Thank you very much, Mavi. The police service, through the IGP, told us how the deployment is going to be effected. They are drafting from some other services within the national security architecture. It's going to be members of the interior predominantly, and then the Ghana Armed Forces, and then the intelligence agencies.
We get that too. It's just those invisible men.
So let's go to the content of what the police said, because that is our only unit we have. I'm not going to sit here to say, as a politician like Roxanne is putting it. I'm a politician, but I have a responsibility. My responsibility is to make sure that I speak the substance. The substance is this. He's drafting from the existing units that we know.
Yeah, but I also find the issues that he's raised very important.
Mama, forgive me. He went further to state that they are going to be in regular uniform, except 2 units. One intelligence unit, which is the BNI, and one auxiliary unit, which is also intelligence, which is CID. Apart from these 2 units, the rest are going to be in regular uniform.
Okay, so let's address the issue.
So how have we, over the past 7 general elections, conducted and seen our security personnel? They've been in regular uniform. None but regular uniform. The case of Ayo West Ogun, which was cited, was a by-election. We have seen in by-elections such behaviors. I wish we would never have a by-election in this country. We should always go for general elections. Successive general elections have been peaceful than what was the latter.
Can we just address this issue so we can move on?
I'm coming further.
Because of time.
There's no way the services will allow a person who is not one of theirs to be dressed and clothed and come and operate. Whatever, mind you, this is National Election Security Task Force, with the police service mandated for our homeland management leading the charge. Anything that goes wrong, even though it's a collective exercise, they are mandated to lead this exercise. It goes against them. I don't think they'll sit down for that to go against them.
Okay, I want us to move on, so I just want to ask him.
We will have the opportunity of delving better and further when we go into conclave to deal with them.
So maybe we can have this bit of the conversation after that. But it's crucial. I think what you said is very important. If there's a misconduct on the side of an official in terms of security, but this person is not in uniform, so you don't know who he is. My point is, how do I make a report and say this person has done this and this is who he is?
As a candidate in every operation, when they are deployed, a respected member of parliament like himself, and like he gave the narrative of his district, if they are going to bring any officer who is higher than a district officer, he will be in the know because the district officer will have to let him know. And if they do not bring officers who are higher than his district officer, every operative who comes and is lower in rank to the district officer in operation must report to the district officer, and it's identifiable.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dafamaho, you should be satisfied with that?
Mama, we know.
Why not?
Because you see, he's giving an indication that they are going to put other men who are not policemen into police uniforms. And that's why I have a problem.
Has he said that?
He said so. He said so. Now, I know that during elections...
Roxanne,
hold on. I am quoting you. But I know that they, for instance, rely on the fire service, men in the fire service, and the immigration.
Yes.
To assist them on occasions like this.
There's prisons. They mentioned all the others. Yes.
Exactly. And those men are also identifiable with their uniforms, with properly tagged. So why don't you use the existing status quo? Why do you want to use men that are moribund? We don't know them. They are not identified. BNI. What is BNI doing on election day? Because we have BNI officers stationed in every district.
Okay.
So use men that we can identify so that when there's problems, we'll know who to point our fingers at.
Okay. Mr. Dafamaho, fortunately, the National Security Minister is in Parliament. I want you to strongly raise these issues so we can have
I always
conversation.
do.
I've got 5 more minutes. Unfortunately, I have to end this one and bring...
BNI personnel living in our districts, work in our districts. Yes. If they're going to bring any BNI personnel extra, we don't know. the district election security task force, you would go for a dissect meeting, and you would know what the...
I am not a member of dissect.
Unfortunately, I really want to talk about the airbag issue.
I'm sorry.
I really want to talk about the airbag issue.
No, wait. He's not a member of dissect. But there is a DIPAC meeting which is going to be held by the Electoral Commission.
So he still can be updated in terms of...
the Electoral Commissioner is attending this meeting with us in Parliament.
So let's leave it here and then let's do the follow-ups in Parliament.
I don't want a situation.
I will raise the matter. But Mamavi, we know that we know.
Let me be a bit categorical here. Okay. We are bringing in, according to what the police said, the police service, the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, the Ghana Prison Service, the Customs Preventive
Division
of the Ghana
Customs, GRE, yes.
And then CID. As a lawyer, you know how CIDs dress.
Yes, I know.
And you know that they don't dress anyhow.
Of course I know.
By the definition of their mandate, they have to dress like that.
Unfortunately,
but there's a CID in every constituency, so why are you bringing more CID? That's my point.
Can we just play the former president's video so we can come back and finish this?
What?
And they knew that the Japan was going to be discussed today. Because he was a coward and he knew that they were going to discuss Ijapa, so put a paragraph on Airbus to equalize the discussion. I mean, what stupidity is this? You know, because you are investigating Ijapa, present a report in Ijapa. Why? Because you know Ijapa is going to be discussed. You've indicted the president's cousin as finance minister, and you are afraid that you are presenting only a report on Ijapa. So in the Ijapa report, put some other reports that balance the equation. I thought he was man enough. Come out. The point is, you say I'm the leader of a political party. I say, if you have a legal basis for investigating me, go ahead and investigate me. If you have a legal basis for investigating me, go ahead and investigate me. There's been a DPA, a deferred prosecution agreement.
All right. So there's nothing more to add. Gentlemen, he's right, isn't he? Who go first, Mr. Champon?
No, allow the NDC man to speak for his leader.
Of course.
No, go ahead.
And I'll do so eloquently.
Oh, good.
I think he's right in his observations, and because the task that was given to the Honorable Martin Amidu, the special prosecutor, to undertake in this matter was to conduct anti-risk assessment of the Japa deal. And if this were any law exams, he would have failed. Because he deviated completely to go and touch on Airbus. What about Airbus?
So, you know, when you go to page 53 of his report, yes, and I think I hope that I'm quoting the page right, he gives an update of other cases that he's currently investigating.
Yes, but that is why I said that if this were any law exams, he would have failed.
Yeah, but this wasn't an exam. This was him writing his report.
Yes, but why?
Writing his observations and conclusions.
But these are legal matters. In law, that's all we do. Relevance. So the issues that he brought here, what's the relevance? You are to do this for Ijapa, and it is Ijapa that you are dealing with. And then you go to town and go on a frolic of your own. So for me, I am struggling to understand exactly. So
is your confusion the fact that he put it in the Ijapa report?
I have no
or you are disputing that former President Mahama is a government official?
Hold on. I have no confusion in my mind at all. My mind is very clear on this matter. The person who is confused here appears to be the Honorable Martin Amidu.
Okay, so
because he's confusing. So what is the risk analysis on Ejapa got to do with?
So please, can you answer my question? My question is,
yes,
is it the fact that he put in the Ejapa reports that you're unhappy with, or the fact that former President Mahama is government official, one that he discloses?
So if we are analyzing this report, so is the report on Ejapa or on all the other cases?
Oh, and that's why I think I've said that as part of the report, he also wanted to keep Ghanaians updated, because he also addresses the issue.
So issue a separate report.
He also addresses the issue of the PPA and the bits that he's doing on corruption.
Report.
So, but can you directly answer my question?
I have.
Is former President Mahama government official one or not?
He's not. What shows that he is? That is where the disappointment is. You see,
so
he continues to labor to link Mahama to this. So he uses the word surmise. Check the meaning of surmise.
Okay, Mr. Champo, we don't have a lot of time on this.
Check the meaning of the word
I'm not sure you're going to do a long commentary on this. So what's your business really?
I think it's unfortunate that at this stage we are very much respected adults. Myself and Roxanne sitting here are a privileged few that our people elect us to represent them. The offices we occupy are offices of dignity and respect. So anytime given the opportunity to advance an opinion, we must demonstrate decorum. It must be a decorous language. I falter the former president for the way he expressed himself and the way he described the officer who is heading the office of the special prosecutor, a former presidential candidate of his political party, a member who we've served under him as a minister when he was a vice president. I think he needed to offer him some respect, irrespective of the emotions that it comes with. Once you occupy the highest office of this land, the president must assume that he must allow that to always lead what he says. His interpretations and expressions in respect of the subject matter, nobody can hold him fault, but the language he chooses to use for other personnel, I think he just needs to watch them. All
right. In closing the conversation, I understand that one of the presidential candidate, Hassan Ayariga, is alleging that the smaller parties have not been given security. So from the perspective of a chair of Defense Committee in Parliament, do you know anything about security for presidential candidates?
That is why the number is heavy, 62,000 and over.
Have they provided them with the security already?
I'm going to take all the details in Parliament today. They want to provide for them. Everybody, even Mamavi yourselves, as journalists, you need protection. That is why in the space that you're going to work, they must make sure there's adequate protection.
So we haven't yet done the deployments for the candidates.
The reason why Roxanne at the outset said he was surprised at saying that they're having over 500 hotspots in Volta region. How did they come by that? Crime rate in the neighborhood? What happened in the last general elections? What was reported? During the registration exercise, what was done? I mean, there are a series of incidents that borders on misunderstanding.
Okay,
so once that happens, they will mark the place up.
Okay, so have you been given your security as parliamentarians? Do you have your police?
That's why when we were being bashed.
So do you have your police officer?
When we were being bashed, we're saying that the fact that is being said, they need to draft, and this is going to be my personal. So
you don't have a police officer?
I don't have any person.
Mr. Dafamapo, do you have someone following you?
I don't know.
Okay.
So you see,
he as the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee hasn't got a security detail. A mere common floor member.
Thank you, gentlemen, for this conversation. Up next, we're discussing the U.S. elections. Where are we? What should you know about that matter? Stay with us.